Well, my first foray into paranormal exterminating was interesting, right? It was just your everyday, simple Exterminator's Apprentice assignment. An assignment that turned into me fighting a giant demon with nothing but my wits and a baseball bat. I've got bumps and bruises all over, and I think I may possibly have a cracked rib. But there I was, sitting at the park and ride waiting on Devin and his demon mobile to pick me up for some secret exterminating job halfway across the state. Why in the absolute fuck I showed up today, I have no idea. I was scared shitless yesterday evening, spent from worn off adrenaline, and I slept like the dead. But when I woke up, that $1,000 was laying on my nightstand right next to my organic shea butter, and Devin's invitation to come back was still ringing in my ears. He promised an even bigger payday for this one, and I figured things had to go more smoothly this time, right? Devin rolled up in the giant black van with no windows, and I hopped in the passenger side. Surprisingly, it didn't smell bad in there. I figured with whatever that nasty creature went through in there yesterday, after we parted ways, there would be some sort of demon slaughter afterbirth nestled in the door track or seatbelt pockets. But nope. Clean and fresh inside, ready for another passenger. So, where are we headed? I asked in my most confident and relaxed voice. Lakeshore Asylum, he replied in that booming country twang. Ah, okay, cool. Holy fuck. Lakeshore Asylum is only the third most haunted place in the world, according to the Travel Channel. And now that I know all this shit is super duper real, I wished yet again I had stayed home. I got a very, very bad feeling about what was to come. Devin, of course, looked cool as a cucumber. Hey, Dev, I said with a little nickname action in there to help us bond a bit, so he won't let me die today. You think you're going to be able to be there with me as soon as the demon or whatever shows up, so I don't get the piss beat out of me like yesterday? That hurt pretty bad. Devin laughed. Sure, kid, sure. I'll be right there holding your hand. And don't you worry about shitting your pants, 'cause I'll be right there to help you wipe your ass too. I thought I told you no pussies. Shut up, nut up, and use those frat boy muscles, and you'll come out of this smelling like a rose. I promise. A few hours later, we passed through a large gate and drove up a winding path for a mile or so. When the trees cleared, the massive stone structure came into full view. Lakeshore Asylum really was a spectacle to behold. Constructed in the early 1800s, it was one of the largest hand-built structures in the world. The stonework went on for hundreds of yards and held thousands of windows, each seemingly poised to have a creepy face looking out at unsuspecting visitors. It had ceased operation as an asylum in the 1980s and had reopened in 2010 as a tourist attraction, gaining quite a bit of notoriety since. It was a popular site for paranormal shows, group tours, dare-based programs, and historical documentaries. According to Devin, the current owner of the site was a billionaire philanthropist named Jack McKenzie, who used the tour and event proceeds to fund various charities and historical preservation projects. He was genuine and well-liked, and seemed only to have the property and surrounding town's best interests at heart. Being a powerful man, Mackenzie had become aware of dimensional rifts through various friends and acquaintances, and instead of using them for personal gain, he saw an opportunity to do good things. With an extensive history of insane patients, possessions, and general haunted activity, he knew there had to be a rift on the asylum property. So, he purchased it. He was warned the hauntings were incredible and had become quite violent at times. So he got together a plan and used some powerful friends to arrange a contact between himself and some of the demons that had been abusing the rift the hospital had unknowingly been built upon. He made a deal with them for some structured hauntings with no violence but lots of creativity. In return for this, he would give them several thousand copies of the definitive George Michael's box set and regular deliveries of craft beer. It really was a benefit because a Wham-inspired drunk demon haunting was safe, yet unpredictable. It was a win-win situation and everything had gone great for the past 8 years. Recently, though, there had been turmoil on the part of the actors from the demon world. New leadership, or maybe a hostile takeover, had resulted in aggressive activity during paranormal tours. And most recently, a severe injury when a man was shoved down a flight of stairs. Unbelievably, though, he was perfectly okay with it because he was assaulted by a real live ghost. Mackenzie had to arrange his usual meeting to find out what was going on and smooth things over, but his previous contacts were nowhere to be found. Mackenzie was actually threatened by one of the new crew, and any negotiation on the part of the demons had stopped. So, Devin was called in to make contact directly and come up with a solution, whether the demons liked it or not. I had a feeling one of those green assholes was going for a ride with Big Daddy today. Devin and I made our way to the grand foyer and checked in with the caretaker. The regular staff was put on paid vacation until the problems were sorted. The caretaker was an old, crotchety man who clearly gave zero fucks about the demon activity. He gave us a nod, and we moved to the stairwell. Devin spoke.
It's 9 floors up and half a mile walk to the rift at the far end of the east wing. You had questions yesterday after you got your cherry popped. Ask away.
Finally, I said. Firstly, how the hell do you know about this stuff? And how did you get into exterminating?
Because I'm half demon.
Wow. Serious? He nodded and continued.
My mama was a big, ugly woman. There's no point in dancing around the fact of it. She was 6'2" and 300 pounds and had a face that could break mirrors. She was so ugly, no man wanted to touch her. Her own mama referred to her as well-proportioned and blessed with unfortunate features. She brought new meaning to the expression, a face only a mother could love. And even that was up for debate. She was destined for a future as an old maid, dreaming of what could have been, while sewing herself a new muumuu because the store-bought ones didn't fit her.
Wow, I said with genuine shock. That's pretty damn ugly.
You ain't kidding, son, he said with a chuckle. Anyway, as you probably already guessed, my daddy was a demon. You see, male demons find human women extremely unattractive and smelly. It's a whole nother perspective. And since my mama was big, ugly, and usually smelly by human standards, she was just about the hottest thing my daddy had ever laid eyes on.
He continued as we reached the top of the stairs. I'll admit, I was a bit winded, but he still sounded smooth as silk.
Something I didn't mention before is demons are used in underground fighting by some of those powerful humans. It's all very much by choice. There are more things in our world they love besides music and liquor. My daddy was a fighter, and a damned good one. He was one of the biggest demons to ever cross through a rift, and he almost never lost. So anyway, one night, he missed his chance to cross over at his regular rift to get here for one of his fights. But the guard on his side knew of another, unguarded rift. For a small fee, he told my daddy where it was. As it turns out, it was on my mama's family farm. She was walking out the property because her own daddy was on a drinking binge. And there popped my daddy out of that rift. He stumbled right into her arms. She screamed at the top of her lungs as they fell over, and she looked in his eyes and saw his reaction. Lust. Pure lust. And for the first time in her life, she was the recipient. They made sweet, ugly demon love right there in the cornfield. And my daddy, in his best attempt at English, promised her he would return and take her to his dimension. He lost his first and last fight a few hours later, resulting in his untimely demise. As he lay there and died, the demon that defeated him made a promise to go tell her what happened. 3 months later, I was born. The gestating period for demon babies ain't near as long as for humans. My name, Devin. It's Demon and Kevin combined.
That actually was a kick-ass name. I was a little jealous. And so, for one reason or another, you developed a disdain for other demons, and now you earn your living by ruining their shit at the end of your boot, then tossing them into your creepy van for a ride with Big Daddy? I surmised, proud of myself despite its obviousness.
Pretty much, he replied. I don't actually hate them all. I hate the opportunists who get off on scaring and harming humans without their permission, i.e. paranormal shows and such. After I tracked down a few of these shenanigans on my own, I developed a bit of a reputation, and folks were willing to shell out a lot of dough for my services, albeit at the risk of my own life. Those demons really hate me. And I've got a reputation on the other side as well. They know who Big Daddy is. Some of them take the risk and do what they do, and the others put a bounty on my head. They can both eat a dick though. I say bring it.
Well, I guess that clears things up a bit, I said, as if what I just heard wasn't the craziest, most fucked up story of my life, including incidents involving the kid in my neighborhood who threw up anytime he saw a dog poop. Man, we tortured that dude. I have a feeling he's got a bounty or two out there too. Yikes. I better call that guy. We reached the end of a ridiculously long hallway, left in whatever condition it had taken on in the years since the asylum closed. Speckled about were old wheelchairs, carts, hospital beds, and lots of peeling paint. It was hot as hell, too, since the building's electricity had never been reactivated. I was already sweating, but it wasn't all due to the heat. We were standing about 30 yards from the far wall, and Devin pointed up to the right, where the wall and ceiling met. I couldn't see it.
Look close, he said. It's not much more than an eye floater, or a bit of blurred vision, and it comes and goes like static on a TV or a flickering light when there's a draw on the electricity in your house. Just a blip, and it's gone. A building like this, full of crazies and people doped up on all sorts of antipsychotics, wouldn't think a thing of it. But there it is, a portal to another dimension. The demons were careful, though. They can stay invisible by vibrating themselves down to the molecules. Ain't nothing but a shiver in the cold for 'em. But in our atmosphere, and at our UV levels, they're ghosts. There's nothing there unless they decide to torment us. But I can see 'em, all with these demon eyes. I can see right through these sons of bitches. So they go on and show themselves when I show up. Well, son, you ready? I can smell something coming, I think.
Shit, no, wait! I frantically dropped my backpack and dug in like a wild animal, producing my old martial arts sparring gear, complete with a jockstrap and protective mask. I also slapped on a belt I had customized to hold a machete, and a police baton my crazy uncle swiped from a cop car years ago. I had everything on in seconds. Okay, ready, I said as I snapped the baton to full length like a total badass. Devin glanced over, with an expressionless face said,
Jesus, kid, you look like an asshole. That demon's gonna shove your nose in that dick TP you just strapped on. You wear that thing when you go to sorority parties? I bet you do, Tiny Tim. I hope you got a brother and he's not a pussy. Because if you're an only child and you procreate, your family's name is gonna be extinct in a couple generations.
Jesus, Devin. You could have stopped at Dick TP and got your point across. Maybe he was right. That demon yesterday was a big one. If he couldn't kill me, I could probably handle anything. I thought about ditching the face mask at least. But better safe than sorry. Suddenly, I heard footsteps, and looked up just in time to see an absolutely humongous demon launch itself out of the empty room immediately to our left. Devin managed to sidestep it, and I made a dive for my life, just far enough to escape its reach. The demon flopped over with all the grace of John Goodman on a skateboard, but it managed to get back on its feet in time to meet Devin face to face. It was every bit of 7 feet tall and almost as muscled as Devin. I was absolutely fucked if this thing took him out. Devin! The big demon screamed. Shitty pronunciation aside, it was clearly making its best attempt at saying Devin. It knew him, and its eyes lit up in evil sneer as it spouted off some demon language. Devin grinned, pointed his bat an inch from its nose, and they began to slowly circle each other. A few seconds later, I heard a screech coming from the hallway just around the corner. A comically smaller demon popped into view and headed our way. It was about 5 feet tall, with a large, disproportionate head, and feet that were probably 50% smaller than they should be. It stopped dead in its tracks and screamed, "Fuck me, it's Devin!"
You hear that?
Devin shouted.
Fuck is a universal cuss word. Every dimension says it. Pretty cool, eh?
The little demon immediately hauled ass towards the rift into the hallway. It took off with surprising speed, but after about 10 steps in, it was totally gassed out, bent over, coughing and panting.
I told you, kid,
Devin screamed.
Like Kathy Bates running the 100-meter relay.
I looked over and Devin had the big bastard in a headlock, hammering away at his face with his giant fist. The demon fought hard though, and managed to pick Devin up while still in the headlock and perform a flawless atomic drop. Devin landed hard. He lay on his back while the big demon stomped his guts, but still felt compelled to yell.
Ryan, they watch professional wrestling. Can you believe it? They love that shit.
Devin let out a maniacal laugh, and with one gargantuan hand, he caught the very next stomp of that creepy demon foot and twisted its ankle hard. I could hear the crack of bones as I turned to give chase to the dwarf demon. It could barely breathe, and I still had a few feet to go as I caught up. It leaped to a surprising height, managing to just grip the edge of the rift at a height of about 12 feet. I sprinted hard and caught the wall with one foot to propel myself the rest of the way. I caught the little demon in midair with a forearm around its throat, dragging it down to the floor where we squared off much like Devin and the giant had. I let go of its throat and picked up my baton where I dropped it as I jumped. I grinned with confidence as I drew back for a big fat strike to the head, but that little fucker lunged and socked me in the solar plexus. It felt like I'd just been kicked in the chest by a mule. Holy shit, was it strong for its size. Okay, no big deal. I would just have to take it a bit more seriously. The damn thing was on me in a split second, hanging off my back and snapping at my ears. I covered my face mask with its creepy hands, and I wandered aimlessly around the hallway trying to shake it off. I ran backwards hard and smashed it against the wall, feeling its breath exhale in a whoosh as it screamed, "Fuck you!" over and over. It dropped to the floor and I returned the favor, kicking hard with my knockoff Yeezys right into its bumpy little chest. I backed off, pulling my machete and taking a big swipe as it tried to dodge the blade. A pointy ear dropped to the floor and it screamed in pain and rage as it lunged forward. But I caught it in the face with my kung fu knee pad. "Take that, bitch!" I screamed. My adrenaline was through the roof as I pounced on top of it and began dropping hammer fists into its nasty little face. Its eyes were filled with rage, and it gave me a sharp finger poke through my mask that caused me to fall onto my back. I was trying to shake off the blindness as it leapt up and landed on top of me. I dropped my machete, and as the mini monster snatched it up, I was really regretting sticking to my hand moisturizing regimen so religiously the past few months. It drew back and was beginning the downward thrust towards my throat that would end my beautiful existence on this planet. When out of nowhere, the big demon's severed foot came flying past at least 100 miles an hour and hit that little shit so hard the spiny back of it penetrated its shoulder and sent it tumbling at least 10 feet. The little demon groaned and lay almost motionless. I stood up, retrieved my blade, and tried to catch my breath as I checked on Devin. He was bleeding from the forehead, but had the big demon in his grasp, and proceeded to powerbomb it flawlessly. The big bastard landed with a crunch as Devin screamed, "Take that shit, macho man! Can you smell what the half-breed's cooking?" He was in full pro wrestling mode now, in the zone and out of his mind. He turned around and shook the imaginary ropes, then reached out and gave me a 5. "Great job, man! Kick his ass!" I screamed. Devin looked confused. "What? It's your turn, kid. I just tagged you in." Wait, I can't. Get your candy ass in there and get some of that big motherfucker. Oh yeah! He screamed as he practically threw me at the big demon. Devin was off his rocker. Wrestling moves, impersonations, invisible ropes. I knew he was gonna let me take a beating too. Why the fuck did I come back today? If only that Birchbox subscription wasn't so expensive. The big guy was slowly standing up and shaking off the cobwebs. I took a quick look back at Devin. The little demon was back on his feet and Devin gave it a Ric Flair backhand chop that caved in its chest. I heard a growl from the other direction as the big demon slowly hobbled towards me on its remaining foot. Green blood slipped from its stumpy leg. Devin's bat was casually propped up against the wall, completely untouched, and I snatched it up in a flash, following with a tremendous home run swing to the demon's midsection. It had a surprising effect, and the demon doubled over in pain and dropped to its knees. I smiled, impressed with my strength. "Dev, you see that? I knocked that fucker to his knees!" I looked over, and Devin had one of his big paws in the little guy's head as it swung its fists furiously, hitting nothing but air. "Yeah, great job, kid. I broke all but a few of his ribs for you, so just keep working on him there until one of them cuts his guts. He'll bleed out internally in 5 or 10 minutes. Damn it, I knew it was too good to be true. 5 or 10 minutes? The big one was back on its foot, but bent over a bit in pain, and with a booming Andre the Giant voice, it shouted, "Kill you! Kill you!" It threw out a freakishly long arm and snatched me by the chest protector, pulling hard and sending me into the wall. Had I not had the helmet on, my brains would have been on the floor. I whipped around just as I felt its breath on my neck, put my back against the wall, and shoved my size 12 right into those broken ribs. My boot landed hard, and I knew something in there had popped. The demon doubled over, obviously in serious pain, and began puking his creepy demon blood. It wasn't done yet, though, and hit me so hard I couldn't feel my face. My entire head felt detached, and as I tried to get my bearings to come up with some offense, I heard the scrape of my machete being picked up. I turned just in time to see the machete flip towards me from a Devon toss that landed the handle perfectly in my hand. This dude was an absolute stud.
Finish him off!
Devon whooped as he clapped his hands like Eddie Murphy in The Nutty Professor.
Hercules! Hercules!
With every bit of strength I had left, I shoved the blade upward as the demon drew back its fists, catching it under the chin and sending razor-sharp steel up through its brain. Before the dead beast could drop, Devon flew over in a torpedo pose and rammed it perfectly in the chest, landing right on top of it as he hooked the leg. I was so pumped up I immediately knew what to do. I baseball slid right beside them and slapped my hand to the floor 3 times.
Ding, 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 motherfucker!
Devon yelled with supreme enthusiasm.
He's not kicking out of that one.
I rolled over onto my back, exhausted and depleted.
Jesus, Devon. What the fuck is wrong with you? I almost died at least 3 times. You had him, kid. You had him. I feel like a new man. Ain't nobody ever lasted 2 days with me. We gotta take over the world.
We both lay on our backs, laughing. His genuine, and mine from pure hysteria. When suddenly I remembered baby Huey. Frantically I yelled, "Where's the runt?"
Well, shit,
Devon said disappointedly.
Look.
I turned and looked where I last saw the little guy, and just caught a glimpse of its feet slipping past the threshold of the rift, and into the safety of the demon dimension.
Ah, fuck it,
Devon said.
He ain't coming back. The way I smashed him up, he'll be lucky to make it to tomorrow anyway.
I hope so, I replied. Otherwise, he'll be back with his friends, won't he?
Nah, it was just 2 of those that wasn't playing ball with Mackenzie. The way I figure it, the rest of them will be back to work on Monday. Back to grabbing the ankles of the unsuspecting public, fulfilling the prophecy of the curse of some legendary patient.
Well, that was good. Man, what a day. On one massive shoulder, Devon carried the demon towards the chute that led to the incinerator. I followed behind with the severed foot. We dumped everything down, gathered our stuff, and made the long trek to the lobby. A man I presumed to be Jack Mackenzie was in the lobby, conversing with the old caretaker.
Devon, so good to see you. Did everything go okay up there? I trust no one got hurt too bad.
He looked directly at me, his eyes taking in the full spectacle of my bloody ninja outfit. I could see in his eyes just a hint of amusement. He knew exactly what kind of shit Devon was putting me into.
It's all good, boss. Piece of cake. I sent him down the incinerator.
Devon replied with a big stupid grin on his face.
What?
Mackenzie said.
No ride with Big Daddy? Not this time. Me and the kid are gonna go celebrate. He made it through his 2nd job.
Mackenzie looked genuinely shocked. It was clear these two had more of a history than I realized.
Wow, I'm impressed. And you're 100% human?
He asked, and I believe he was serious. He continued without waiting for my reply.
Well, I gotta go make some calls to some employees and let them know they can come back to work. Devon, as usual, you have my sincere gratitude,
he said as he handed over the classic small manila envelope of what I presumed was cash. We got back to the van, and I collapsed into my seat. The adrenaline was wearing off and I was going to crash.
Great job, kid. You really gave that sucker a beating. Little one about fucked you up, though. Ha ha ha.
He reached into the envelope, counted out some bills, and handed them over. $5,000.
Holy shit. You just gave me $5,000. How much did he pay you? 20 G's, kid. That's nothing to a billionaire. I bet he finds that kind of cash in his winter coat pocket when December rolls around. There's plenty more where that came from. Just stick with me. Absolutely, Devin. Absolutely.
Looking back, that may have not been the best decision.
Greetings, friends and fiends. It is I, Chronicler. We here at Creepy Spaghet would like to thank HGTV Neighbor for allowing us to tell their story. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe to stay updated on these terrible tales. And make sure to check out the author in the links below. If you're interested in having your story narrated, be sure to reach out to our humble overseer as he continues his journey to pull the darkest stories from the infinite depths of the internet. Until next time, fiends. And remember, we are darkness.